You are about to meet a disciple of ALEISTER CROWLEY, the Great Beast 666, sometimes known as the Chief of the Black Magicians. Now, that doesn't mean anything to you right now. It probably will by the end of this interview. We are going to talk with Mr. Louis T. Cullin, himself a self-styled warlock. He engages in the practice of something called sex magic?
Yes.
What is sex magic?
Is
it anything we can talk about on the radio?
Probably. Of course, I don't know. It is simply the attempt, and successful many times, to produce certain psychological results and manifestations by the medium of sex congress.
What does that all mean?
Well, I may take an example. Suppose a person wishes to invoke the principle called beauty. He may conceive the giving birth to a magical entity or child called beauty, whereby he disassociates that principle within himself that's beauty and brings it to exterior objective manifestation.
Wow. While he's doing all that, is the world still going around?
Perhaps it's still going around.
You use a lot of big words, Louis. I hope you know what they mean, because the chances are I don't. Now, is it true that you worship a goat god?
Not exactly. It is pictured as a goat. Yes. It has been pictured as a goat.
What are you, some kind of a pagan?
I can clarify that by stating I'm a pantheist, I'm a monotheist, and I'm a polytheist.
You know, I never heard of any of them. I've heard of them. I don't know what they mean.
Pantheist is that...
Sound like you're your own trinity, the way you talk.
The manifestation of the divine in all of living nature. That is pantheism.
Oh, that means you think you're a god yourself, huh?
No.
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 Well, somebody said Louis T. Cullin is an old goat, and he worships a goat god, and we figured you were making yourself a god.
I don't think I'm so presumptuous.
But you believe that you're divine along with everybody else.
Yes, I believe everything is a manifestation of the divine. Everything that lives, be it an earthworm.
An earthworm is divine?
A manifestation, sir, of the divine. All life. All life is a manifestation of the divine. Actually.
Well, I think that's right. I would agree with that. But you wouldn't attach the same worthiness to an earthworm as you would to Mr. Cullin or John Smith or somebody else, would you?
No, but I might look at the shimmering beauty, the opalescent beauty of an earthworm and be wrapped up in a veneration of the divine just in looking at it. And also,
that was the same philosophy that Dr. Schweitzer had, wasn't it? He used to say, don't step on that ant. He's a friend of mine. He's a manifestation of a divine act.
It becomes necessary to do away with some things, although I have spared the life of a rattlesnake because it didn't bite me. But ordinarily I will kill them because they are a threat to human life.
Spare the life of a rattlesnake so he could go and bite somebody else.
Not exactly. If you had witnessed what I did, I put my hand on a rattlesnake unknowingly, and it slithered through my hands completely without rattling or without attempting to bite me, and immediately after I set up my transit, and another snake was underneath the tripod and never did harm me. And in those instances, actually, I think one person must give such thanks that he just couldn't kill that thing.
Well, I never heard of such an attitude toward a rattlesnake, but if you felt grateful that he didn't strike you, I guess that was your way of responding with your gratitude. That was your manifestation of gratitude. What makes you think that you're a warlock? What makes you think you're a witch?
I don't think. I know.
You know you're a witch?
Yes.
What can you do that I can't do?
Through many years of practice, I say practice now, through many years of practice, we have been able to use certain principles of psychology that are almost unknown among psychologists, and their effectiveness. And all magic, must I say, is involved in laws of psychology, be they unknown or not. We do not claim anything that is supernatural.
But how about answering my question? What can you do that I can't do?
You want me to give an example?
Yeah, sure.
Well, one time I was in a costume from attending a costume party, and I entered a restaurant, and everybody was making snide remarks and laughing at me. They thought I was some kind of a nut.
How were you dressed?
In a robe with a headdress on.
You mean like an Indian or?
No, black robe, like a magician's robe, if you will.
Uh-huh.
And they were regarding some people. Oh, he's just a nut. Now then, I had practiced psychologically. It's a psychology thing, making myself huge and impressive. I did that. Immediately, people began to look at me with awe. And
you say you made yourself huge and impressive. What does that mean? You stuffed pillows under your robe and stood up straight?
No, that means you project your imagination into this till it becomes subjectively real.
Well,
Not
I asked
objectively.
you what you could do that I can't do. I could make myself huge and impressive, too.
If you have practiced it, and only if you have practiced it.
You mean giving people the illusion that you're slightly larger than life?
Yes. This takes practice.
Hollywood actors do that all the time.
Oh, no. Not what I'm
How
talking
often have you seen a movie star that you've admired all your life only to say, why, he's just a little fella, he's shorter than I am. Look, he's wearing lifts on his shoes or something like that. These people have been very adept at that. But I'm asking you, as you sit there at the table now, you claim that you're a witch and you say you know it. You are Louis T. Cullin Warlock, right?
Yes.
And you are a disciple of Crowley, the great beast.
Yes.
666. Bad man, by the way. But I still want to know what you can do that I can't do. Can you disappear? Can you do any levitation? Can you make that wastebasket move without touching it? Can you?
You cannot. That is in contradiction. That's in contradiction to what I said. No supernatural stuff.
Well, what can you do? How? I mean, you can walk up and down the street all day and say you're a warlock or a witch, but unless you prove it in some way, nobody's going to believe you. Now, I don't say I don't believe you. I do say that I'd like some proof that that's what you are. You may well be.
Proof, my dear sir, and evidence is quite two different things. And if you can't accept evidence, why? Now,
how can I accept the evidence of something that happened to you according to your hearsay? Listen, that's not evidence in court. It's not proof.
No. Well, I'll give you another case. We were holding a ritual down in San Diego, a group of us, 10 that I had charge of.
Was that a pagan ritual?
Yes, if you will.
Yes.
And the window was open, and in flew a crow. Now, I want you to understand that many other time we would have paid no attention to the crow, except maybe try to capture him or throw him out.
Was it an old crow?
Just a crow.
Just a crow.
Now then, but we have developed a sense of awareness that becomes almost clairvoyant, if you will. So,
all right, now hold that. The crow is coming in the window. We'll be right back to you, sir, in just a moment. So this crow came in the window while you're having your pagan ritual among a group of 10 fellow warlocks and witches.
Having developed this sense of awareness, it wasn't unusual at all that suddenly I yelled, Wotan's crow. Wotan's crow is an omen of...
How do you spell it?
Wotan, the Norse god.
Wotan, V-O-L-T?
W-O-T-A-N. That's German.
W-O-T-A-N. Crow.
Wotan, yes.
Wotan crow.
That is a sign of impending death. Wotan's crow. Now, there was one man, it wasn't at the meeting. I said, Joe is in trouble. We all went there.
This was one of the witches.
Yes.
Joe.
And we got there, and when we got there, I saw the red streaks going up his arm. And when we took him to the doctor, said, you got here just in time to save his arm from blood poisoning, if not his life.
How did the red streaks occur?
That is a sign of blood poisoning.
Yes, but how did what had happened? Had he been?
He had never known how he did it.
Oh, I see. And what happened to the crow? That was just a sign, in your opinion.
That was just a sign. That wouldn't always have been a sign. This was merely something that sparked.
Would you mind telling our listeners who haven't ever taken the trouble to find out? I happen to know who Crowley was. Would you describe Crowley? and tell me how you could follow such a dastardly man as Mr. Crowley?
Crowley had two personalities. One, he was a tremendous genius, and other, the dastardly part you speak of, is his personality. I distinguish between his personality and his individuality, his true genius. And in following the teachings and accomplishments of Crowley as a genius of magic is not, in any sense, having any respect nor regard for his personality.
You call him a genius of magic, and I think most of us think of him as a genius of madness.
I said two personalities. Now, don't give me the other personality.
Where was the good side of him? I always thought he had two personalities, bad and worse. Now, where was the good side of Crowley? You are the first person to sit down here, or in my presence, in my earshot, any place, and say anything good about Crowley. Now, what was good about him? Do you recall anything that you could say that was good, worthy, outstanding?
I have neither the time here to quote from his writings. I have no time here to quote of his tremendous accomplishments.
Would you quote one thing from his writings? One thing that you think was good?
I would rather state it this way. I am a very good friend of a practicing psychotherapist. He has written 2 huge volumes on Crowley that will soon be published. In one, he psychoanalyzes the lower side of Crowley, as you speak of, but at the same time, he gives tremendous tribute to his genius. And he, as I do, distinguishes between the two.
Well, certainly he was an inventive man, but his inventiveness always went for the worst in the human makeup that I could see. Now, I haven't read your friend who pretends to be the psychological Boswell for Crowley at this time, but I have read a couple of biographies about Crowley, and I could find nary a good word for the man. Wasn't he one of the people who was made so famous with his black mass?
No, he never practiced the black mass.
Aleister Crowley never practiced the black mass?
No, not under my definition of a black mass, no.
What is your definition of a black mass?
Largely a mythological thing that probably was never practiced except by some deranged intellect.
Ah, now we're back to Crowley.
He had no deranged intellect.
Didn't Crowley set up a place over in either
Cefalù, Italy?
Yes, that's where it was. It was a large castle where debauchery was the rule of thumb. Isn't that so?
There was quite a bit of debauchery, I believe.
According to the best information I have read on that period of his life, the black mass was practiced quite often in that run-down castle, or whatever it was that he owned. And it wasn't largely mythological at all, but it had real flesh and blood participants. We'll come back to you, sir, in a moment. You claim to be a pagan, and you're not a kid anymore. You've reached your biblical span, haven't you? 70?
72.
72. So you're about as close to your maker as you've ever been, in point of chronology.
Yes.
Doesn't that begin to concern you at all?
Well, certainly it concerns me, and I wouldn't have my life any different if I had it to live over again.
How long have you been living the life that you presently enjoy?
Since I was 25.
You feel that you've been a warlock or a male witch since you've been 25?
I do not, because becoming a magician of any ability at all takes years of practice. And I would say to you that when you had this your so-called witch on your program, Sybil so-and-so, I won't say her name, that she's just playing. She's in it for the commercial.
I had that feeling. Now, would you say that by normal worldly standards you are an evil man?
No, sir. Oh, normal? I don't know what normal
Well,
is.
if you were to go up and down this building and describe your activities to the average person you'd meet in the various hallways, would you think that they would consider you a good man or an evil man?
It would be against my principles to harm anybody unless they deserved it, in my opinion, unless they double-crossed me or something.
You mean self-defense of some kind?
Yes, it would be against my opinion to do anything dishonorable.
Well, I guess any man that's nice to rattlesnakes can't be all bad. You know, to me, you're kind of a contradiction. You're a man of 72, you have dignity, you're articulate, and yet I think you're crazy. And not in a mental health sense. I think in the sense that you've thrown so much of your life away, obviously, on this trivia, on this nonsense, on crows flying in the window and red streaks going up a guy's arm.
Is that trivia? Saving a man's life? Now, Joe.
If you saved his life, there was a practical reason why you did it. There was no occult reason why you did it. Surely you're smart enough to know that. I would never put you down as a stupid man. But kind of a way-out guy in love with mysticism, which probably replaced something in your life that you lost very early and never got.
Well, now, you are psychoanalyzing me. As I told you before...
You psychoanalyze yourself as you sit and talk to me. I'm no head shrinker.
As I told you before, I am a very close friend of a psychoanalyst. He does not psychoanalyze me as you do, and that's his profession.
That's because he charges for it, you see. Anytime you're ready to come up with the money, undoubtedly he'll go to work on you. In fact, he'll probably consider you a classic case. Now, you claim you got rid of a spook once in a burlesque house in Los Angeles.
Yes, sir.
What was that all about?
Was
that Dracula among the G-strings?
The manager of the theater had informed me through one of his employees that the chorus girls, or whatever you want to call them, were badly bugged about a spook. And we went there to de-haunt the place, but I want you to understand, again, nothing supernatural, because I know the psychological reasons.
Oh, there's nothing supernatural about a spook. Anybody knows that. Why, they walk among us all the time. Think what you're saying, man. Nothing supernatural, and you went to see about de-haunting a place.
I think a real spook, as it's supposed to be, is supernatural. And
exactly.
I determined that one person in the crowd was causing all this, and I made her be present at this banishing. And if I could impress her that it was banished, that would be sufficient to banish it for everybody else, and that worked.
In other words, all you did was to go in and take a girl whose mind seemed to be straying from the beaten path and use a little psychology on her. Why don't you put it that way instead of saying you de-haunted something? There was no spook there to begin with except whatever existed in her mind.
I told you at the beginning that all magic is the application of psychological principles that aren't known or practiced among psychologists.
Now, you've been sitting here now for 15 to 20 minutes and you haven't done one magical thing.
I haven't attempted to do one magical thing.
Let me see you doing one magical thing. I defy your spookery. We'll be back to you in just a moment. So there's a challenge for you. Do one magical thing. Wave your arm now and transfer me to Jamaica, or Bali, or Papeete in Tahiti.
Now, you know you're talking ridiculous things.
Well, sure, I know I am, and so are you, because if you were a real warlock, if you were a skilled magician, you could certainly put me on a surfboard now cruising into the island of, I'll take Christmas Island in the Pacific.
You see, you refuse to accept case histories that I give you.
Sure I do, because I wasn't there, Charlie.
No, I say that you will believe me when I tell you that one time I ran a letter in Fate magazine that I would help people with occult problems, and I got 128 answers, and that merely by exercising my clairvoyant powers from the letters they got, I got more than 30 replies that I had cured their problems, and I did nothing but apply occult psychological principles on them. Now, I know you believe that. I know you believe that.
I believe this. I believe you got 120 letters because, if you could put an ad in the thing. Look, some years ago, about 30 days before Christmas, a guy began to run ads all over the country, and here's what he said. Only 29 days left to send me Only 26 days left to send me your dollar. Only 22 days and so forth, right down to Christmas Eve. That's all he said. He promised nothing. He got thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and they locked him up, and the police made him give the money back, and I think the man should have gotten a medal for proving how stupid people are. And I believe if you put in there a little thing that you're going to do this or that 120 stupid people, I'm surprised that's all it would be, would write to you. And I also believe that 30 would be dumb enough to think you had done something. But you remind me of the fellow we had here one day that spends all his time at home sticking pins in dolls that are figures of the governor and wishing that he gets to be dog catcher.
It wouldn't do any good to stick pins in a doll unless the person knew it. You see, nothing supernatural has got to work psychologically.
Well, if you want to stick pins in the governor's doll, I'll see that he finds out about it. How's that grab you? Our guest has been Louis T. Cullin. Is he a witch? And if he is, which witch is this witch? This is Joe Pyne pulling a switch and saying thank you for